Hey moms,
Hey daughters,
welcome to the Juggle is Real,
a mom and daughter show
Parenting and Mental Health
for moms and teens.
episode.
25.
And welcome today to the fourth part of our series, the series within a series that we launched back in January of 2025. And we're already almost at the end of March, right?
Which is mid-March.
We're mid-March, but I guess because we celebrated your birthday, which is March 20th last week, that it feels like the end, right? All right, hold on. Her birthday, March 20th. So hold on. This is actually, the juggle is indeed real, you guys, because I'm here in my scrubs because I came home from work and I screwed up her birthday. So if you always have to watch this on YouTube, and I didn't even catch that. But Sabrina, in my mind, I was thinking that's her birth date, right? Because my oldest son's birth date was supposed to be August 25th, and he was born August 20th, and you were born March 25th. So I got those dates wrong, so please forgive me. So the juggle is indeed real. All right, welcome to Parenting and Mental Health for Moms and Teens. And so she'll forgive me for this. But anyway, so we are on the fourth part of the series within a series. And I know that sounds pretty complex, but you know what? Here's the deal. The invitation is that we really want to live life intentionally. And so what we did is we started in January of how to get really clear on like living a life that you love. And so we started out with how to create a vision, the vision board that a lot of people start on the new year. But we know it's kind of complex. People put pictures on and affirmations, and sometimes they forget about it. And what I'll say is there really is a intentionality behind living a life by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we are on the last part of this 4-part series that we had done on vision boarding. So go ahead, Sabrina. What did we do?
We did relationship,
Uh-huh.
like work and school, like occupation,
Uh-huh.
and well-being.
And well-being. So basically what we're offering in my life coaching is that we have 4 major pillars of our life. So we get really clear on those 4 major pillars in our life. We can start to create more balance, right? But because a lot of working moms, a lot of you teens in this day and age, in this modern time, are constantly juggling a lot of things. And when we don't have a vision for all those different major areas of our life, we tend to over focus, right? And to be overproductive on some things as opposed to other things. And that starts to create a lack. And so that has been the offer. How do you feel like this has helped?
I think I've like kept myself in check with my relationships, and especially with my money.
Yeah, right? So I think I love that. I feel like our relationship has grown.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely get into the juggle of things, and we definitely have, it's not, as I like to say, it's not linear, so things happen. But then it's about knowing that vision, because you're always going to come from that vision and not to that vision. So when things come up, that is like last week when we recorded this episode and it didn't come through, we lost the volume on it. And it's like, how do we take opportunities that seem to be a block into our vision? We know how we want to be in that person, who we want to be in that vision. And so we always come back to that because that is always a choice. We can always show up as that person, right? And so we have those 4 main areas of our life, like you said, in our relationships, in our career, in your school, in our well-being, because we can't have any of this if we don't have our health. But then also now what we've been talking about is money. And it's time and money. And so in this last part of time and money, because money can be tricky, we've even really layered that into 4 series, right? And so the first part we did on money was learning about our money story, like our thinking around our money. And then the second part of the series was learning about like the boring stuff, but the really important stuff, which is getting really educated about financial literacy, right? And then last week we talked about how to make money fun. And then today we're talking about how time and money are really connected. And what I wanted to do, well, I'll just offer this. So I don't want to put Sabrina on the spot. Do you want to read it? Okay.
Read it.
She can't read my handwriting. So Warren Buffett, he has this quote, and this is why I really think that time and money, I never really saw it in that perspective until I started my skincare business back in 2017. And
Mm.
so in 2017, I've always had to trade time for money. Like if I had
Mhm.
to show up on shifts, like today I worked a 10-hour shift at the hospital. So that's always been a mentality of mine because that's something that my parents had. And it's just something that your dad has. And it's
Mhm.
just something that I've always just thought that's what you do. You always have to trade time for money. And that is true. And there's other ways to make money, right? And
Mhm.
so this last part of the series, it's so closely connected, time and money. And like I was saying, I never really understood that because when I started this skincare business, when I started launching into entrepreneurship, there was this idea of time and money freedom. And do you know what that means? Just take a guess. Like, well, what do you think time and money freedom means?
Like, spend like, going shop like,
No,
freedom?
no. Okay, no, that's true. Like being able to have the freedom to use your money to shop.
Mhm.
And then also what? Because of what? To not
Mhm.
feel, remember, guilty about it, to
Mhm.
feel shame about it, to feel any of those more negative emotions, meaning negative that causes you suffering because you feel like you don't have enough. You don't have enough money, right?
Mhm.
And then also with time, time is the same thing. You don't have enough time. I wanted to share this quote. So this was presented to me when I started really launching into personal development work during my entrepreneurship. Okay. Because when you're an entrepreneur, what happens is you go through, and this is anything in life, but it definitely launched me into personal development because when I was in my skincare business, it was, why would somebody wanna buy skincare from me as opposed to that other woman down the street? Do you see what I'm saying? So then you go down into what makes me special and what doesn't, and you go down into all these different aspects about yourself, right? And so time to money freedom became one of that. And so learning about how to become really self-aware about yourself was a part of the process. And then also just becoming really smart, really educated, right?
Mhm.
About, remember, it goes back to the excerpt that we shared from the book from Deepak Chopra about the two goddesses.
Mhm.
But the book was the Affluence of Money. I can't remember exactly
Yeah.
the title of the book, but what were those two goddesses?
The goddess of knowledge and money.
The goddess of knowledge and a goddess of money. But what goddess did you want to really learn about more?
Knowledge.
Because then the money will follow,
Mhm.
right? Sort of like that kind of abundance mindset will follow. And so that's what I wanted to bring in today about time and money was how to think about it in terms of these two different mindsets, right? But first, I'm going to go back to this quote. So, this quote is Warren Buffett. He's one of the greatest investors. I don't know if he's still the richest person in the US, but he's definitely one to learn from because he's that successful. And he has this quote that I came across back in 2017, and it's just stuck with me because I've learned so much from it is that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that successful people say no to almost everything. And that's something that I still work on, right? And I think I shared that too when we were learning about each other, but it's something that I do. There's a sense of FOMO and I have a sense of like always wanting to give. But it's really learning time and money is so much tied to productivity, but your productivity is also really learning. It's about how to use your time with focus and intentionality too. Because we talked about why having a vision is so important because what happens with life? You start to live by
It
habit and on
is.
autopilot,
Yeah.
right? So there's always intentionality that we want to bring to it. And so the intentionality that I wanted to bring to time and money was that one, why it's really important for us to talk about it,
Mhm.
because it's something that is very common. It's actually one of the most common parenting conflict because of time and money. Because what's tied to it is productivity. What do we constantly give you a hard time about? What?
Everything.
Being on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
being on Instagram, right?
Grades.
Grades.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So, like, are you using your time productively?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the connection to it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then also with money, it's are you saving money? There's always that. Are you spending money wisely? Are you seeing the connection
Yeah.
between time and money? Okay, so tell me what's landing for you. What's
Like if I work, I give up time, but then I gain money.
uh-huh.
And then like if I go shopping, then I spend my time, like my free time, but then I give up money. And it's all connected.
Uh-huh. Is there something that you think how you could have both?
Mm, maybe
Mhm.
like having a set plan for every day.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that. So do you remember back in the second part of the series when I was doing the financial literacy,
Mhm.
right? And so everybody again who is either listening or watching this, in the second part of the series, so that would have been episode 22, I showed slides from my financial literacy class, right?
Mhm.
And in that, I said I had that word budget and I had a big X on it. That's really how I felt about it. It's really how I felt about the word budget because budget for me felt super scarce, right? And it made me feel like very contracted and it had those lower sort of emotions of like fear and guilt and shame. And if that was what I was feeling, that's obviously what I was broadcasting out to the world, and I would get more of that back,
Mhm.
right? Which is why I said I like the word wealth vision, to have a vision about it. And so, why time and money creates a lot of problems is because there's scarcity attached to that. So, there's a mindset to it. So, there is a time scarcity and a money scarcity.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I wanted to offer is to really start thinking about it with an abundant mindset.
Mm.
So, a scarcity mindset with time and money and to have a abundant mindset. Now, I think that sounds kind of funny because, for instance, I worked 10 hours today. I'm still in scrubs. It's 7 o'clock at night, and we still have to make dinner, walk the dogs,
Mhm.
feed the dogs, and you probably still have to do homework. Now, that doesn't sound super abundant, right? It doesn't?
No.
No, I know. So, how could I make myself feel abundant so I don't feel scarce with the time?
We can like split up the jobs.
But
And
for jobs. Yeah.
I'll walk the dogs. Start making dinner. Like instead of like getting ahead on homework, I could just do what is needed for the day.
All very good answers, yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm actually gonna say this and why this is super important again, because the scarcity is super important. Let's just go back to the biology like I always said. We are born with a primitive, right? And so when I just use the word scarce, it's fear-based, like I said. And so when we are fear-based, we are always gonna feel very reactive. That's how our body's just naturally gonna react.
Mhm.
So what I'm gonna say, and it sounds super simple, but it's absolutely the most important thing to do because it's what I also learned from my life coaching because I don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of
Mhm.
time, right? Is to be able to use your calendar as a structure of support, period, as a structure of support. So I literally have to look. Do you remember like last year when you came home from school and I think you had travel soccer
Mhm.
practice? Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yeah, and I had a lot of homework.
Uh-huh. And so what did I say to do?
You said set times for each subject.
I told you to write a list
Mhm.
of all the things that you had within like 2 hours. And when you did that within that certain amount of time, because let's just be honest, I mean, it was scarce in time and there
Mhm.
was a lot of things to do. That's life. That's the juggle is real.
Mhm.
But there's a way to create a structure of support. When you saw it written down and what you can start to do to be productive, what would be most efficient with intentionality, because you were writing it down and then you started to check it off. What started to happen to your body?
Yeah, I got relieved.
You started to calm down, right? Because you were starting to freak out a
Mhm.
little bit. And then when you freak out, what happens? Are you learning?
No.
You're not learning. You're not learning in those conditions. And the same thing here. This is why I bring it back. If I'm freaking out that I haven't even changed yet, that I want to, with intentionality, make this second go around of this episode already that we already did last week, But there's something that happens, a sort of calming down of our nervous system, sort of safety
Mhm.
that we start to do when we start to just use the structure of time as support. And that is the most productive productivity hack that I will say has worked, that has been taught to me and has worked and is proven effective. Because what I know to be true, the juggle is indeed real, and we have less time and a certain amount of finances too, right?
Mhm.
So we definitely have, I don't like to use the word scarcity, but I'm just saying that there's resources that we have and we want to be resourceful with it.
Mhm.
All right. How does it sound? I mean, that's really
Sounds good.
it. That's really it. The time, and then, but that's how you start to create the time and money freedom for people who really don't feel like they have it, because we really don't. But I think what happens is when we approach it in that perspective, because we've had this vision, I don't feel like I'm lacking in my relationships. I don't feel like I'm lacking in my health.
Mhm.
Right? You see me, I'm not making this up. We've made plenty of time to work out
Mhm.
and eat well because we've had a vision on them and we create the structure of support. And we've been very intentional about our time and our money. I mean, we've got this done. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. So, what did you learn in a series?
In the series, keep in contact with a lot of people. Um, Stay busy, but also like not too busy where I'm stressed and like overwhelmed. And keep keep track of my money without going over my what was the word? Not budget,
Not your vision?
my vision, and then um, do good in school.
And the last thing I wanted to say, Sabrina, I mean, we talked about your money story and how I'm influencing your money
Mhm.
story. And as I say to everybody and to all my clients, and what I would say to my students is like, I'm just offering you a framework that I've learned from really wise mentors and teachers. And it has seemed to influence and work well for me. But it doesn't mean it's going to work well for you.
Mhm.
Maybe you like the word budget. This is the idea of like we use the word integration. I get to honor the differences of what makes you you, and you get to honor the differences of what makes me me.
Mhm.
So take what's useful, leave what's not. But what you're learning here is that goddess of knowledge, which I absolutely am really thrilled and honored and privileged about sharing. And I'm just excited we got it done?
Mhm.
So we are complete.
Woohoo!
We are complete with the vision board series of our relationships, of learning about our career and our school life, our well-being, and our time and money. And let us know what you think. And please rate, review, subscribe to our show. The visibility is super important. We will not get seen. We will not be able to support other moms and teens. We will not know if this is helpful or not unless we hear from you. So that includes commenting, sharing, and that is it. So next week, I'm going away for a retreat, and so we will not be on next week. We're gonna give ourselves a little break, and it's gonna be Sabrina's birthday when I come back. So when you do hear from us next time, Sabrina's going to be
Sweet 16.
sweet 16. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening.